A while back, I sat here in this very chair, and I said that MAGA has no bottom. I said there's absolutely no low that MAGA will not go to. But I got to be honest with you, and I got to confess one thing. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I had this little tiny shred of optimism left. And I said to myself, maybe they'll start to turn around. Maybe they'll start to come back up. Maybe they'll start to show some basic human decency. And I held on to this little shred somewhere in the back corner of my mind that I'm saying this to you. I'm saying that MAGA has no bottom. I'm saying there's no low they won't go to, but surely there is. Well, I hate to tell you all this, but I was dead wrong for having any shred of thought of that in my brain anywhere, because now the QAnon shaman, I can't believe I'm saying this out loud, the QAnon shaman, Jacob Chansley, the guy that put the bull horns on his head, painted his face, and wore fur into the White House and beat his chest and screamed like a wild animal, that guy has filed paperwork to run for Congress in Arizona. Another January 6th insurrectionist, Chuck Hand, has done the same thing down in Georgia. And they have an audience of people that will vote for them. These are men who took part in an insurrection. These are men who took part in desecrating our nation's capital. These are men who took part in trying to overthrow the government, overturn an election that they lost, and interfere with the peaceful transfer of power. These are people who quotes the Constitution all day long. Says they're for freedom all day long. Don't tread on me all day long. But now they're running for Congress when the Constitution clearly tells them they're not allowed to. So for all the constitutionalists out there that is going to always throw Constitution verses at us, let's go ahead and throw some back at them, okay? And let's turn to Amendment 14, Section 3. No person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the United States or under any state, who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state legislature or as an executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the United States shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same or given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof, but Congress may be, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. Right there in the Constitution, it tells us that Jacob Chansley, Chuck Hand, or any of the January 6th insurrectionists, including Donald Trump himself, cannot legally run for any office. These people took part in an insurrection. They took part in a rebellion and said so. But they have an audience. They have a group of people who will go out and will vote for them. I'm all for democracy. I'm all for everyone having their vote. But what our side needs to realize more than ever is there is no low, and I don't really have any shred of hope left. There's no low that these people won't go to, and there's nothing they won't get behind. They'll get behind a guy who painted his face and put bull horns on his head. What experience does this dude have in government other than he marched into the Capitol? What experience does he have? They don't care. They don't care at all. They will go out there and they will vote for this guy with pride. And they will ignore the Constitution. They'll completely ignore it. Because all they care about is their agenda being pushed forward, and they will do so by any means necessary. That's what we're up against in 2024. That is the kind of insanity that we're up against in 2024. Now, I don't know how many of y'all are old enough to remember this, but there was a fight one time between Larry Holmes and Marvis Frazier, Joe Frazier's son. Larry Holmes absolutely beat the brakes off of Marvis Frazier. Damn near killed him. Howard Cosell was sitting over calling the match, and he was going, "Stop it! Stop the match! Stop it! He can't defend himself! Stop it!" It was so brutal and so violent that Howard Cosell refused to call boxing anymore after that. He left the boxing world after that. And I can so relate to that right now. I'm sitting back watching these people pummel our country like Holmes did Frazier. I'm seeing them absolutely pummel and disrespect and disgrace our country. And I'm like, Cosell, I'm going to say, is somebody going to step in and stop it? Is someone going to step in and stop this insanity? Is the ref going to call it off? Is the ref ever going to call it off and say enough is enough? I see these headlines and I say to myself, they have to be satire. No way this really happened. And then I dig in and I find out, no, not only did it really happen and not only is it really going to happen, but there's people who are all for it and there's people who are inspired and encouraged to vote. And then meanwhile, over here on the left, we have people who are upset with Joe Biden about certain things and they don't know if they're going to vote. Let me say this. One of the biggest strengths that we have on the left is that we're not in a cult, okay? One of the biggest strengths we have is that we all have minds of our own. One of the biggest strengths that we have is that we don't worship our politicians like cult leaders. We don't. I respect your right to have a different opinion. I expect your thoughts of wanting more options. But as we go into 2024, whatever problems you have with Joe Biden, you need to go ahead and air those out now and get the hell over it. Okay? Because what we got coming at us is not just Donald Trump, the ringleader of the whole damn thing, but now the minions too are saying, we want in government. And I'm reading Project 2025 at the moment, and I'm understanding that what they want to give the next Republican president the power to do is have control over all branches of government and be able to fire anyone that they disagree with. That's what's headed our way. So for those of you on the left that have a problem with Joe Biden, I understand and I respect your right to have that problem. But we got a moron that put bullhorns on his head and painted his face up and wore fur into the Capitol thinking he can be a member of Congress. And it's just going to open the door for everybody else to go, oh, me too, me too. And they would vote in the absolute bottom of the barrel if it meant pushing forward their agenda. So get mad at Joe Biden all you want to. You have a right to. You have a right to disagree with him. You have a right to think whatever you want to think about him. But walk in the voting booth, hold your nose, and save democracy from this lunacy. They said Howard Cosell almost took a stroke watching Larry Holmes beat up Marvis Frazier. And sometimes I feel like I'm on the verge of it too, watching these people beat up our democracy and beat up everything that we were founded upon. I used to wish on a shooting star all the time that my grandpa, who was a World War II vet and a staunch Republican and a hardcore believer, I used to wish, I'd say, man, I wished he could come back today. And I just wished he could sit here in this chair and talk with me. I would just love to talk to him about the world. And I went to his grave not long ago, and I was like, I'm so glad you're not here to see this. I am so glad you're not here to see this shit show. This is, you fought against this very thing, and it's a miracle that I'm standing here at your grave. It's a miracle you made it home. And I've had to sit back and watch them just pummel our country. It makes me sick to my stomach. And to tell you the truth, I just have nothing for them at all anymore. And they pretty much destroyed my optimism.